So I've been asked how to fix a puncture. I'll show you really quickly. These things are always a bit of a letdown. You can feel deflated when you have them, but there's no problem at all. It doesn't take long. Your puncture will always be in the wet, or when you least want it. It will always be on your commute, on a long journey. Basically they happen. So the best thing to do is practice, practice, practice. So this is your tyre. The valve is here. Always start away from the valve. Your air's out of your tyre. You need to get the tube out to see where the puncture is. So if you break the seal, break the tyre away, and you have to find a way to get the tyre off, and you do that with these things. These are tyre levers. I always carry a mix. I always carry at least one metal lever and plastic ones as well. Plastic are lighter, metal will get off some of those tougher tyres. So start with plastic, start away from the valve, dig it under if you can, and lock it on the tyre. And there you can see it's held on. I'll use a metal lever now, just to get the second part of the tyre off there. Now we can start to use plastic. So it's make, do, amend, it's fix, wriggle, whatever it takes. So we've got the tyre off to there. Can we get it a bit further? We can. And there we go. Once you've begun, you can pull the lever all the way around. Now one side of the tyre is off the wheel. You don't need to take the whole thing off. You just need to be able to get to the tube. One thing I've learnt recently is to leave the tube in situ. So don't take the valve out. Don't push this bit out. Leave it there. This way you can find out if you have where the puncture is. It might be a thorn that's gone in. It might be a bit of glass that's gone in or out. It might still be there. You need to find out where it is. So what you do is loosen the tube out like that. How do we find the hole? Well, the air comes out the tube if you pump it up. Pump, tube. You put the tube on. Again, worth practicing. Two types of valves, Presta and Schrader. So you need to know which end you've got and what you're going to do with it. And just put some air in. Just reinflate it, a bit more sausage-like, and then I find my top lips best, and you can feel where the air is coming out. So if we do have a puncture, say here, the reason we left this in place here is so that if the puncture is there, we know to go digging around here and just check, see what's gone through, if anything has gone through, and you'll feel it on the inside. But always rub your fingers all the way around, because you can bet your bottom dollar you'll have two thorns in. You put the tube back in, all fixed, you get another puncture immediately. So assume the air's coming out here. Take your puncture repair patch out, glue, patches, sandpaper. So you can mark with a pen where your hole is. You'll usually see it. Just gently roughen the area just to give the glue some purchase. This is a contact glue, so it needs to dry in place first before you put it on. It's not a wet glue. When you put the glue on, often the air coming out of the tube will blow, and just make a little hole, little bubble maybe, just so you can see where that is. Just smooth it down, and then what you're waiting for is for the glue to go hard to set on there. Sunny weather it's quicker, wet weather, which it normally is when you puncture, is a bit different. So then select your patch size. So it depends on the size of the hole. If you've got a big tube and a big hole, it's not going to go. Always carry a spare tube anyway, just in case. If you haven't, you can select the right size patch. I like to go for nice big patches. Then you take your patch, you peel off the backing, trying to keep the inside of the patch clean. So don't go touching the bit that's going to be contacting the inner tube. That just pulls off smoothly, except when watched. These things happen. It's often, just be patient. It's quicker that way in the long run. Take off everything you've got. So you've got that on there, and you're just going to press that onto the tube and hold it. The heat of your hands will help set it. So hold the patch on. You've already checked the inside of the tube, so now it's time to pop that back in. Okay, the tube's a bit floppy at the minute, so what we can do is just put a bit of air in, not too much, just to make sure we inflate the tube, give it some shape so it will hold itself in position. So we're just going to put some air in, and then the tube goes back in. Just put the patch in carefully and press it against the inside of the tyre. It's going to be pressed with the air pressure anyway. Assuming you get it right first time. Careful of the edges of the wheel here. If you've used the metal levers, you might have made those sharp by accident. So the tube's roughly in place now. Find the valve, and you're going to start at the valve. You push the tyre on there, push the valve up so it's not pinched. The big problem you'll get is pinching the tube between the tyre and the rim. That's the big thing you'll learn to avoid with practice. In this case, the tube is nicely seated in the wheel, so I push this on. I'll work maybe from your, like this, anything. This tyre's going to go on nicely. If it doesn't, you can take your lever, press it in and pop it on there. Just make sure your tube is in place. Pop this little piece on. We'll just hold it, the valve roughly in place. If you're a bit rough when you put the air in, you can twist the valve and you can break that off. So that's ready to roll. Now inflate and see what happens. It may go in, it may not. You're looking at a lot of time, a lot of pumping, 100, 150, 200 pumps. Be prepared for the time. I found myself just holding this rigidly onto the valve, the pump, so it doesn't waggle around and cause many problems. Check the pressure roughly. You're not going to have a gauge with you, I guess. You might do if you have a pump with a gauge on, but you're just going to get it as firm as you can get it. Okay. That'll do. Release that. Do up the little valve. That's the one you release, so you can press the valve in. Press the valve. Put the valve cap on just to keep the dust out, the muck out. This has moved now because the air's gone in. Push that in. There you go. Practice, practice, practice. And always carry a spare tube. I always put the spare tube in first and if it keeps happening, then you do it.